Bonjour et bienvenue dans The Hill is Always Greener, une émission dans laquelle Quate me disconte de Sonic the Hedgehog pour se distraire des passages inévitables du temps et de leur propre capacité en déclin rapide à interagir avec les jeunes. Bonjour!
Sorry, I like that you stopped to say Sonic the Hedgehog in a full-on American accent. You've got that Toby Fox Toho project energy.
Bonjour, je m'appelle RockTheJake.
I'm CyberLink, and I did not bother to look up Google Translate for some funny phrase.
Hola, mi llamo Jeremy.
Faulerro.
No.
You know, as a British person, I cannot bring myself to use French phrases, even though they made our language, essentially. Now, who's with us this time?
And I'm Jolene. And wow, we're off to a great start, aren't we?
It's the only start we know how to do.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I spoke French today in the worst possible Google Translate accent I could do because we're talking about a really interesting French Sonic comic today.
Oh, we're going back to France.
Interesting is the word for it.
Interesting is the word for it.
Yeah,
It's true. Yes, today we are covering Sonic Adventures dans Les Griffes de Robotnik, or In the Claws of Robotnik, a very obscure little comic from France. Only ran one issue, technically two, depending on who you ask. It's complicated, and it's something all right. But before we get into that, Jolene, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you are here?
So, my Sonic history, if you've listened to the episode of Sonic the Comic, the podcast that I was on, you'll already know this. But unfortunately, my origin of Sonic, with my first Sonic love, was in fact Sonic Underground, and I am very thankful that I did not have to be on an episode discussing that.
Oh, it won't be the last.
Oh yeah, you got to come back to talk about Sonic Underground.
Don't turn me into an episode of Sonic Underground.
Oh no, the commenters would really not like that.
Oh, God.
But yeah, fortunately, I subsequently played Sonic Advance 2 and quite enjoyed it, and thought, even though I wasn't very good at it at all. And so that like sort of like solidified, oh, okay, Sonic doesn't have to be about him playing musical instruments with his siblings as they seek to reclaim the throne.
This is completely at odds of what I understand Sonic to be, but nevertheless.
I wasn't a huge Sonic fan for most of my life. It was my friend Viv of Toaster Girl of Lego Ideas fame. She was the one who really got me into it. I read all of Ian Flynn's Archie work, and that was kind of that. I was like, okay, yeah, this is cool. This is good, actually.
Yeah, turns out if they could give people good Sonic content, they end up liking it.
Yeah.
Just kidding! Even crap Sonic content gets lots of fans.
So I'm not sure that what we're talking about today has lots of fans, because it's obscure is the word for it.
There's not much information about it. Who was this published by again? That's like the most I found out about it, and I don't even remember what that is.
It was published by Siren, I believe.
Yes, that is correct.
Oh, and it came out October 1994, and that's all we know. We don't. Is there even an artist listed for this? A writer? Anything?
There's a series editor. There's a creative director.
We have the writer is Thierry Smolderson, aka Smoldo.
Oh, there we are.
And pencils by Mr. B. That could be anybody.
The mysterious Mr. B.
Exactly. Charmy did this himself. And then colors by Bruno Vessel.
So two of those credits look like the names from like an old credits list from a video game in the 90s or 80s. They look like pseudonyms.
Yeah, they look like they belong in the credits for Sonic Pocket Adventure.
Oh yeah. Which I actually played a little bit of it recently just because I enjoyed it so much last time.
Like, the reason that I wanted to be on this particular episode is because Well, firstly, because I'm an obnoxious hipster who, like, obsesses over the weird and obscure bits of things I get into.
Welcome to our podcast.
My people. But also because it's drawing a lot on the Sonic Bible, which also Sonic the Comic, the UK one, famously drew on. I never read Sonic the Comic until very recently because most of it came out before I was born.
Oh, sorry. Having the same affliction as the STCTP creators. When the moment you mention that, my bones
I am
seize
unfortunately the youth that you struggle to relate to.
We're going to do our best today.
Yeah, and also, because I'm British, I have read every single Asterix book. Because because I am a British child who has ever set foot in a library.
I haven't even got that far, but man, yes, British children all read Asterix. American children did not. And now the versions they get have literal boring translations and are bad. Sorry, Americans.
It's okay, we deserve it.
Like, to me, that was what comics was. It was the Franco-Belgian tradition. Tintin, Asterix, occasionally Lucky Luke.
Oh, also that partly done by one of the Asterix guys, so...
I watched the Tintin cartoon that had the amazing orchestral intro that is the main thing that people remember from it.
That was the one that introduced me to the world of, I guess, comics like that in general, because it came on like every day on Nickelodeon, back when Nickelodeon didn't have any of their old shows, and I was like, gosh, 7 or 8 years old, probably even younger, and would just tune in, and it would be like, oh, Tintin and the Mystery of Something, part 4 of 8, and I was like, oh my goodness.
Tintin and the Mystery of the Savage Chinaman.
I can't recall if any of those arcs got adapted.
Yeah.
But kind of have to broach that subject eventually.
And don't forget the Smurfs. Well, actually, most people just associate it with the TV show that America had, but...
Oh yeah, I love Hank Azaria.
If you're going to read the Smurfs, don't read the original version of the first book that ever came out, because, well, it's interesting.
Uh-oh.
That's
racism.
Right. The Black Smurfs. But don't worry, they're purple in the English version. That makes it okay.
Oh, they got jinxed.
Yep.
Oh, and he's holding a poppy like all good British people should, I think. I don't understand that.
Yeah, if you don't, you're not patriotic enough.
I associate the Smurfs the most these days with Dave Bulmer, so I'm going to stick to that.
Same. I never really encountered the Smurfs as a kid, like, at all. I just have absolutely no history with them, and I don't really know why, because like, surely they were around. And
they've been around for a while.
You know what's fucked up? I watched more of the Snorks than I did the Smurfs. Because I thought the Smurfs were boring.
Oh, you want your underwater Smurfs?
I could not tell you.
With that Dracula
look, man, you
villain.
can say that, but the Snorks never ended up in Cartoon All Stars to the Rescue. I think that's a mark of being the tip of the top.
So, speaking of Franco-Belgian cartoon racism...
Oh boy, my favourite topic.
Do we want to talk about this comic? Because this is a weird bloody comic.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get right into it.
Let's jump into it.
Full disclosure, we are basically reading from a years-old fan translation that has been going around for a very, very long time, as I recall. Maybe a little directly translated in a few spots, could probably use another pass, but it gets the job done, which is all we can ask.
It's not great, but I don't blame the translators, because firstly, it just seems like English probably wasn't their first language, and secondly, a whole bunch of these lines seem basically impossible to translate in the first place.
They do have a very helpful last page where they have some translation notes where they basically say, like, oh, on this page, like, there's just no way I could make that make sense in English. And I'm like, well, thank you for trying.
But, I mean, I went back over the original French, which Luke was kind enough to dig up for me. like a bunch of these sentences, I don't know if they make sense even in French. I think they're just meant to be silly gibberish.
Yeah, that I think that came across too. Like, there are a few things that Sonic and Tails keep repeating that, yeah, have wonky English, and then you look in the back and the translator is saying, like, yeah, like, Tails does a thing where he's switching his consonant sounds, which might be... I took it as maybe because he's supposed to be really young, like like Adventures of Sonic era, where he's like 4.5 years old. And then...
Yeah, even the French knew that he was a bit dim.
Yeah, and then Sonic and Tails do have, like, quote-unquote catchphrases that don't mean anything in French or English. It's... I don't know, I wonder if it's the writer's attempt at, like, cool Sonic slang. It's just gibberish.
Like French.
The translation does a heroic job of translating it. They decided to translate Tails' catchphrase as variously "Dear God" or "Good Lord," and it's like
that's some real fan sub energy, though. I'm surprised they weren't busting out like curse words and slurs. To be honest with you,
I mean, I'm kind of glad they weren't, given where this issue goes.
Right. But the thing is, I'm not going to dunk hard on, like, a fan sub that someone did out of the kindness of their heart. Because otherwise we wouldn't be able to make out any of what's going on here, because I took French as a kid. I remember, like, one word of it, so I would have no luck navigating any of this. So, good for them, and they do take the time. One thing I do notice is they do leave certain lettering, cases of lettering in where it works in English, which is a thing that happened in Asterix and other, like, sort of, like, official translation of French comics, because you have a stylized bit of text as a character saying, like, a character name or something, and it just looks nicer.
Really, I mean, at the end of the day, it would just take... Can't make any promises. I know I was fascinated when I read through it. Like, it would just take someone, like, going over maybe the original script and this translation and just, maybe putting ourselves in that 1994 Sonic mindset and coming up with some different jokes and phrases that might fit plain English.
It wouldn't need more than maybe a light massaging.
Yeah, you've just got to apply the Asterix translation principle. You don't have to translate all of the dialogue exactly the same, just make sure that there's the same amount of jokes on each page.
It kind of reminded me of the Super Mario Adventures, the one that's from Nintendo Power that's been collected properly finally. Like, I bet that tone would fit this really well.
But yeah, I went for cross-referencing with the original French version and my 10-year-old's French lessons that I can barely remember, plus a bit of machine translation just to make sure. It's certainly an accurate translation for the most part.
At least it's got that going for it.
Yeah.
Enough about the translation. The art is really nice.
Oh man, I'm all about this art. It's not, and these days Sonic fans will be like, oh, Sonic is not on model. He certainly isn't. But everyone looks really vibrant and cool. Yes. I like how everyone looks.
Yeah, there's just so much motion in it.
Especially, like, this unique look for Tails. It's just really cute. I can't really put my finger on it. I just like how he's so different.
Got such a big quiff. I really like it.
Yeah. I especially really like how the action is drawn in here, because there's really good, like, squash and stretch to show just, like, dynamic poses, and the action lines to, like, show where moves are going, like, are clear and dynamic, and like the action in this comic was, like, one of my favorite parts just because of how good it looked.
I absolutely love how this artist draws Robotnik. Like, it's in that STC way, it's a very stylized version of Adventures Robotnik, but it's just got so much life and personality to it.
Mm-hmm. It's very much like it is clearly based on Adventures Robotnik, which was the European Robotnik of the time, I guess. So we were seeing him in so much stuff over here and other countries in Europe. But he's also got a little bit of, like, classic Eggman in there. He's got the skinny legs. Although I think that's partly for, like, better cartooning and to maybe look a little bit like Obelix, which works really well.
Yeah.
Got that really big paintbrush mustache, too.
Yeah. He feels like he's animated like Milton Knights Robotnik.
Yeah.
The highest possible compliment to pay to a Robotnik of this era.
Franco-Belgian comics' sexiest fat man.
Yeah. Like I definitely, could see Milton Knight Robotnik doing, one of my favorite shots is that one of Robotnik like bending down, neck outstretched like he's, Chuck and Decap Attack. Like I think that like I could definitely see Milton Knight Robotnik doing a lot of the same poses and everything, but like Mr. B just has a really good, sense of cartoony squash and stretch and really being able to use that to its fullest that I really appreciate. And
it would be nice if he had used a pen name that we could actually like identify and find out what his other work was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he's got a name like Mr. B, my brain just automatically fills it in as Mr. Bean. So I'm imagining Rowan Atkinson like scribbling away, drawing a little Sonic. Like,
I'm drawing a Sonic the Hedgehog.
I mean, that's what I do when I'm drawing Sonic now. I think
Jackie's like
a new thumbnail. Bring out my little Teddy to be like,
time for me to go put a turkey on my head.
As is tradition. But I guess this is as good a point as any to kind of jump into the comic itself, where we kind of start in medias res as Sonic has been captured by Robotnik and taken up to some manner of, orbital fortress.
Cannot believe Sega allowed this, what with all their mandates and all. Sonic could not be allowed to lose or be captured by Robotnik. Sonic should never fail in any capacity whatsoever. This is disgusting. Ian Flynn should be... Oh, what? He wasn't... okay. Well, I'm sure he's responsible somehow.
I feel like all of these spaceships might be influenced from something. I know there's this one wide shot later where it kind of looks like a Y-wing. I'm not sure.
The first panel is pretty Star Warsy and
I like it. I like the design.
They're very cool. Eggman's got this whole mixed up fleet, and he's got his rocket powered Eggmobile.
That's like because a lot of this is very Sonic 3. I come to notice, and he's in his like Sonic 3 Angel Island boss style Eggomatic, the blue one. That's how you know it's blue.
I know, I love the Badniks too. The just how they're recognizably what they're supposed to be, but also that same like really pushed the angles and expressions are really pushed out, and I love how the Penguinators are like Robotnik's like army generals here.
Yeah, as a person involved in Sonic shorts, I do like seeing Penguinator as sort of a general character.
Yeah, I don't know why they picked Penguinator as his Grimer, his Snively, but I kind of love it.
I kind of like when he just has Badniks as his second in command. One of the things I actually liked about early Archie was like just chilling out with Crab Meat of all characters,
and sometimes he'd get horribly mangled and killed.
Yeah, that was
see how his baseballs allow him to hover. So it turns out that the Badniks ambushed Sonic on Angel Island, not the floating island.
Oh yeah, you're right. Oh my god, that just shows how we've just so become accustomed to that name.
It's weird that everything in the 90s just called it the floating island, but this gets it right.
They were.
I
think the French know that we didn't. Apparently, they didn't in Sonic Underground. So,
if I had to guess, and I have no evidence to support this, I think that they are working entirely off of, whatever original Bible, Stay Sonic, whatever have you, and then just Sonic 3, the cartridge, not even the manual.
So maybe.
They only see Angel Island. They don't have the manual to say it's the floating island or anything like that.
It does pop up at the beginning of the game, the name, so I can see that sticking with you.
Which is also my theory for a certain thing that will happen later in the issue, so we will get to that when we get to that. But yes, no, Sonic has been captured by Robotnik, and again, very rooted in the Bible, where, you know, Sonic is talking about his time as Kintabor, and Robotnik's like, don't say that name in front of me. Rah, rah, rah. They also managed to get the emeralds, and okay, there's a lot of emeralds apparently.
Yeah. There's that Archie thing again.
This scene is one of the ones that, because like I said, I was machine translating these pages for some of them, and Robotnik says in the translation, he says, "Finally, I've got you, you pincushions jet." That's
yeah, that
they clarify in the afterword that yes, that makes about as much sense in French as it does in English. So I decided to put it through a machine translation, and the result was, "Finally, I'm gonna have you, you reaction fuck."
lost a little bit of the subtlety there.
Shut up, you bitch! Don't say this name in front of me.
Now there's that fan sub energy we were looking for.
In the Claws of Robotnik, Wolfpack Productions edition.
I definitely we were chatting about this last night when we made the Discord group. I 100% agree that yes, you pin cushions jet would much better be clarified by you speedy little spike ball like that. I think that's what they're going for, and I think that fits perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a lot of emeralds.
Yeah, what's the deal with the emeralds in this comic? Sonic has like 50 of them in a bag. Also, they're using the Kintabor origin with the grey emeralds.
They say the
being
magic
important.
emeralds, I hear, and I think it's like that in the French the French version as well.
Yeah.
I just wonder if it would. I mean, sometimes I think we forget revisiting this that the emeralds in the games weren't exactly clarified either. You know, we talked about, there was only 6 in Sonic 1, and then, there's 7 in Sonic 2, and Sonic goes Super Saiyan. But then he still has the emeralds at the intro to Sonic 3, but then Knuckles steals them, but then you can immediately get them back. And so it's not like there was anything, especially in the Western manuals, that was like, the Chaos Emeralds, there's only 7. Like, no, that was a Sonic Adventure thing that decided to canonize them as like, no, they're the Dragon Balls.
Sure, but if you're going off what you said of the Bible says, there are 6 emeralds, the 7th is the grey emerald, and that's missing. And they're clearly going with that because the grey emerald comes up later on. And then later, Sonic gets the 7 magical emeralds, which don't appear to include the grey emerald. So what? I don't understand what's going on here.
I maybe might be one of those things where we're just thinking about it more than the author did.
Yeah.
I do think the author wanted to make a funny little Sonic comic and just pull from these basic resources to tell a funny little cartoon story.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I do love this panel where Sonic knocks the emeralds out of his hands, though. Just like dashing around in this like S shape.
That's really cool. I love the part right before that, the panel before that, where he like hulks up, I guess, and I guess he blasts the chains off himself.
Yeah,
and that's a full-on Asterix. Just had the magic potion sort of pose.
Yes.
Sonic just had a spinach.
Same principle.
And then Sonic does, it seems intentionally dive out of the spaceship into the lower atmosphere, but it's convinced Tails, who has been spying along this whole time, will help him.
I mean, Tails, he seems a little concerned, let's say.
Oh dear God, Sonic!
You're completely crazy.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
If this had translated his like vocal tick, I figure it would have been like, "You're completely crazy."
Yeah. I figured that's also how they would go for, which I don't know how much I would love that about Tails. Even a young, a pre-super genius depiction of Tails, like
it
actually
would be
talking
fine
like a baby.
in the 90s, I guess, for a different interpretation. The problem is now, if you have it, it's going to be like, "Oh, Sonic, you're completely crazy." Ooh.
Oh, no.
Well, I guess even in the the older cartoons where Tails was played by like a very young child actor, they didn't super lean into baby talk, but
Yeah.
I get it. I get what they were going for. Yes.
So Tails has to be reminded that you can fly, please come and get me so that I don't die.
I do like that on the next page when Sonic's falling and he's just almost at the river, he said, "This time, it's over." Like he's predicting his death.
Well, I didn't think this one through. I'm gonna fucking die.
Yeah. I think another line that might fit that a little bit better would be well, I suppose I had a good run. Or something like that.
Guess I'll die.
I mean, it is in character for classic Sonic to maybe, act before really thinking these things through.
Yeah.
Literally forget to look before he leapt. Of course, Robotnik knows that they probably survived, so he's gathering up all of his forces to go destroy them no matter what gets in their way.
A fun mix of different Sonic 3 bandnicks in this splash page.
I just love it though, because some of them are clearly designed to fly, and then you just see this penguinator just standing in the air.
Yes.
And I love Robotnik's sharp teeth. He's that angry.
Oh yeah, two just splash pages of really good art, and it was early on where I made my note about how much I just loved the action lines and everything. Everything just looks so dynamic. It's very eye catching from the start, and I love that.
I know this great panel of shot of Sonic from underneath the water of these piranhas just kind of spying on him, and I love the broken up silhouette of Sonic. It's just so I don't even know how to describe it. It's just neat. What a cool. Yes, exactly.
Also,
Sonic's swimming.
Yeah, I was about to say we have to mention that.
Hey, in France he can swim, it's fine.
Yeah, at least the French taught him how to swim.
As soon as he crosses the English Channel, he drowns. But yeah, he gets grabbed by these piranhas. He says, "Oh, fortunately, I've got a souvenir from Hydro City. Hydro City."
Hydro Kitty.
Yeah, Hydro Kitty.
Yeah.
Wait, that thing he picked up in the game that hasn't... The story hasn't been told from... Anyway. It's fine, it's fine.
Well, they said they picked him up on Angel Island, so implicitly he's gone through the events of the game already?
Maybe this is in the middle of it?
Yeah, I have to assume it's in the middle of Sonic 3. That's the closest thing I can think of.
Also on the same page, when Sonic's getting dragged down by the piranhas, the translation, which, let me say up front, not making fun of the translation, it's just there's some situational things in there that make me giggle. I like that Sonic says, "Darn and blast."
Yeah, that seems to be one of his catchphrases.
Yeah, that's how
he says it a couple more times.
His catchphrase of pull-off, which apparently doesn't mean anything.
Oh,
that's pretty funny. I also like that this happens as Sonic and Tails are admiring Robotnik hasn't invaded this part of the world yet, and then it's as the piranhas are dragging him down, he's like, "Oh, I forgot, real animals can be dangerous too."
Yeah, it's nice to see living animals not reduced to the state of robot.
Yeah. Sorry.
We cannot dunk on the way that they phrase this too much.
Oh yeah, no.
No. It's this definitely in good humor.
We said it up front, and we'll say it again, and we'll probably say it again and again. We are not making fun of the people who translated this. It's just because of how it's translated and because of some situational things, and also because a good portion of us are Americans and all of us are English speakers, and we have similar phrasing. It's just funny to us.
Yes, we're being I can only speak for myself. Yeah, we're being ugly Americans about it. So
yes.
laugh at us. Laugh at us for laughing at this.
Yes.
And I'm British, so I'm an asshole, inherently. So
there's a lot of media and pop culture behind the British not liking the French. So there you go.
That is true.
We just don't stand for all that fancy foreign guff.
Yeah.
Touché.
Whoa, now. I was just gonna say, I do appreciate in the next scene, Sonic is making sure he looks both ways before he crosses the street underwater. Left, right, left.
He's doing the thing from the game that you do to shake off the Mega Choppers.
Games. And that means it's good.
Yes.
I love how it's got that very Archie note of, do you know Sonic's technique?
Just shy of putting an actual controller on the page for you to press the buttons to make him do it.
I love that it's like a memo with a paperclip on it, though.
Yeah. Yeah, Sonic narrowly avoids getting eaten by the piranhas, only for, again, a lovely splash page of Robotnik and a bunch of badniks come flying right at him.
Ride of the Valkyries is playing.
Yeah, for sure.
And in the very foreground, there's a non-anthropomorphic hedgehog.
Yeah.
He seems very distressed.
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't
He's
you be?
distressed by all the
so.
hellfire descending upon him. Or
Yeah.
he just catch a glimpse of Sonic and is confused.
I know. One of at least 2 other times Robotnik swoops in and says, "No pity, no mercy, destroy them all."
This reads to me as them trying to evoke like the burning Angel Island from the start of Sonic 3.
Oh, yeah.
I love the little Rhino bots parachuting in.
Yeah.
Like little power Goombas from Mario.
Yeah. One of the weird quirks of this translation, I don't understand why they decided to like translate all these French idioms incredibly literally. Like,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Robotnik's not going with the back of the spoon. Couldn't you just say Robotnik's not taking any half measures, which is what that means?
Oh,
Is that what that
okay.
means?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Whenever I came across one of those, I assumed like that must be a figure of speech that is not crossing the language barrier properly.
Right.
You'd say that. There's some later on that don't appear to be sayings in French either. It's just nonsense.
I do.
Yeah.
Okay, I promised to stop pointing out all of them, but when Tails is following after Sonic, he says "smell of mechanism." I can't tell if that's a figure of speech or if he's just talking about the robot stink or something.
I would imagine it's the latter.
Yeah, it's just saying odeur de mécanisme or mécanisme.
Even I can tell that's smell of mechanism.
Yeah.
These machines stink.
Stanky sheens.
I love the next panel where it's showing the Rhino bots like trying to come to a screeching halt right before going over the waterfall.
Oh, yeah.
Which here's why the silly thing with the emerald sticks out is because they actually kind of get the Sonic and Tails are now looking for rings so they can get an energy boost, which is pretty gamified as they go off the waterfall and realize that they've all washed downriver and that there's an entire horde of rings for them to grab.
By the name of a sailed egg.
Yeah, I looked this one up. I don't think that's a French saying. I think he's just saying some bullshit.
All right.
He knows words and he's saying them.
Wow, he's just like me for real.
I really like how this Sonic is a take on like the old it's more like Adventures Mohawk Sonic than anything, but it's just really cool, especially how his spines are drawn like under the water, like kind of floating like hair. It's just really charming. Once again,
Very ripply little spikes. See, this is how to draw that good. We've seen a few people actually are like there are some artists that just get how to make that work. Early Archie also, well, very early Archie, like the original Archie miniseries, really knew how to draw that Mohawk Sonic. Now, it's not my ideal look for Sonic, but if you're gonna draw it, you might as well draw it well.
So after they find that huge stockpile of rings under the water, they think they're in the clear, and then they keep drifting down the water, and then there's an even bigger waterfall that they fall down, which leads to the Echidna ancient civilization.
It leads to the Sonic Adventure flashback scene.
Yes.
When I first read this, I was amazed at how, just at first glance, amazed at how like well it maps. And as it goes on, you realize, okay, it's not, it's one of those like. If you're going to make the Echidnas like an ancient race, like you had a couple of choices and like a Mesopotamian type.
Mesoamerican. Mesopotamian.
Yes, excuse me. Excuse me, pardon me. Thank you. It just maps up with what they would do in Sonic Adventure pretty well, including having an Echidna princess.
Isn't it funny how like everything but Archie understood that?
Yeah.
Like before Sonic Adventure.
Hey. Don't blame Archie. It's one dude.
I know. I shouldn't lay all the sins of Archie under everyone who has worked on it. I should just focus on one dude.
At least in this instance, you can blame that one dude.
Yes.
We've got this island of ancient ruins from the for the Echidna tribes and all these ruins seem to have like a Mayan aesthetic. Clearly, these people were like British colonizers. But here we run into, speaking of colonialism, oh boy, the savage natives.
Oh, yeah.
I was about to say,
Les
come on, guys.
Sauvages. It's not good.
Not as bad as it could be, but yeah, they do immediately accuse them of being uncivilized when they're the ones dropping right into the middle of their homes. You don't know their history, Sonic and Tails. Shut up.
Yeah, Sonic is incredibly judgmental here.
Yeah.
It's like, they left cities in ruins on continents of all the planet, but it's not a reason to stay still. I was like, is he saying like, oh, they didn't develop these idiots? And Tails is like, it's true.
That panel.
Here's the thing. I'm not sure they even know that these are supposed to be echidnas, because I don't think they ever say the word echidna in this entire comic. And there's something that happens later that kind of leads me to think that.
I mean, they do look like a bunch of Knuckles, but no, they don't.
They have the shoes.
And this is the other thing. I don't think they realized that Knuckles was one person. I think that since they didn't have the manual and just the cartridge, they thought every time Knuckles showed up, that was a different member of this echidna race or whatever race they thought.
Oh.
I believe it.
Yeah, because Knuckles clearly dies in Launch Space Zone, so that was another guy.
Yeah, there was no Sonic and Knuckles at this point because that doesn't come until later.
So they just said, oh, all those echidnas look alike. Oh, man. Oh, boy.
I do want to make a quick mention of the fact that the echidnas all have yellow gloves.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, they
Fighting
do.
gloves.
And they're also all wearing like leopard skins.
Unga bunga, I like that.
Yeah.
No, I really shouldn't actually, considering the context.
Darn
Yeah.
is last.
Just a very, very shorthand for like, well, I mean, like we said, we touched on some of those comics, and not exclusive just to Euro comics. There's some pretty horrendous Mickey Mouse and DuckTales comics, but
Yeah, I feel like the, leopard skinned clothing was like a pretty quick go-to for a lot of like comic depictions of like different tribal natives.
that's why even people would put like Tarzan or George of the Jungle in one.
Yeah.
I guess I just find it curious, like, given that these guys are otherwise pretty much just the Knuckles design.
They just shoved like the leopard skin print on him and decided that it's done.
But I guess it's not that dissimilar to, again, the flashbacks of Sonic Adventure where all the echidnas look the same with one exception.
I'm just glad that they didn't have like a big pot that's bubbling with stuff, and they're going to shove Sonic and Tails in. And
Yeah.
Trying to give as many non-racist kudos points as we can.
oh, you didn't do that one thing that everyone else does. Good job. Proud of you.
Yep.
Changing the subject, enter Amy. She's here.
And
Yeah.
she's got the STC updo.
Yes, she
I
does.
love it.
Yeah, the famous misinterpretation of that one image of Amy from Sonic CD that got passed around all over the place. That was the inspiration for Amy's look in Sonic the Comic. There it is. She's caught in a wind tunnel.
I think you and I are about to ask the same question, Joe. Do you think that they saw STC and like just use that as a base, or they just came to the same conclusion based on the same piece of art completely independently?
Parallel thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing with Robotnik, really. Like, is it because STC did that, or did they just get the same reference material from the licensees?
Yeah, because there was a lot of
Subcontractors.
they were handing around that picture of there is that style guide that has like Adventures Robotnik, or at least their interpretation of Adventures Robotnik. So that was like being passed around. None for Amy though, so that's where it's interesting.
I'm curious what the like foreign distribution of STC was like at this point in early '94.
I know it was getting at least versions of it were getting published in European countries. There was like a whole feature in STC where they show like different language versions that had like different titles and different features, and one that had like Mr. T in it for some reason.
As you do.
Yeah, of course.
She's got sort of similar-ish characterization to STC Amy, insofar as he, like, kidnaps her and she's like, oh, what's up, egghead? Take a shower recently? Something smells like shit.
I know, roasted the hell out of him. I love it.
The great Robotnik does not like to be talked about his feet, miss.
I'll stay off the internet, mate.
I love the next bit where she's like, yeah, you big old rotten egg. The day you finally crack, I'm not going to eat that omelet. It's just so good egg puns. Even though this is Robotnik, which now I'll never get over. That so
to this day, it baffles my mind.
So many other continuities leaned into the egg part of Eggman, but changed his name to Robotnik. It's so funny.
Yeah, like, you're right that this is definitely a very STC Amy where, you know, she's clearly got that spunk to her. She basically just does not stop mocking Robotnik at any point.
Yeah.
Even though she has been clearly kidnapped and tied up, which is something that early STC Amy would be allowed to do, but the later STC Amy that we're all used to just has stories happen around her and never is in actual peril. But aside from that...
And has a gun.
It's a crossbow, which is also kind of, wow.
Amy Rose, gun lesbian.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Sorry, there are quite a few shots where you can see her pants, though. I've only just noticed this now.
Oh, yeah. It's the Robotnik.
So that or a really big diaper.
Well, I mean, not too dissimilar from any time a 3D Amy Rose model shows up in a game and Sega's like, what's animation and posing? No, just make sure she's wearing underwear.
Just those Minnie Mouse bloomers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're going to draw that, that's the way to do it.
Now, I can't tell when we get back to Sonic and Tails, who have now been captured.
Sonic captured twice! This is ridiculous! Ian Flynn must answer for his crimes!
I can't tell if Sonic is just like... They're talking about why they got captured, because like, oh yeah, we had to stop fighting before we really hurt somebody, if that's just cope or if that's the real reason. Oh yeah, it's not the same as robots. We don't want to hurt anybody. That's why.
That's why I didn't punch those piranhas in the face.
You guys are lucky I was holding back, you know.
This page did have like the line where after double checking with the original, I was like, okay, yeah, this just is nonsense, even that cannot be translated in a way that makes sense. Where Sonic says, I haven't seen the movie, but take a look at the iced chocolate saleswoman.
Yeah.
I checked the French, and yeah, that's exactly what he's saying, and I cannot pass a context for that.
Was there like an advert in French at the time that had an iced chocolates woman? I don't know. There had to have been some sort of context for this, or they just threw some words at the page. We cannot say for certain.
I assume he's making fun of her outfit, which isn't that much different, except, you know, she's got the ceremonial staff and the gray emerald in her headdress, and
she's breasting boobily all over the place.
Yeah.
She is about... Oh yeah, sorry, that one shot of her. Wow. Gravity does not apply to her bosom.
I only just noticed it, actually. Yeah.
There's a later page where Robotnik's got her in his hands and her breast is just poking out over the top of his finger. Very noticeable.
As you do.
As you do.
You cannot contain those.
This is Princess Illusion.
I was about to say, I assume that is how her name is pronounced. Which, again, funny that she is much more orange than the other echidnas are. It just... if I didn't know this came out years before it would even be in development, I would say, oh, it's Tikal. But yeah, she is carrying the gray emerald, which Robotnik has been after for years.
We don't know why. It's never established in this.
Yeah, they don't say in this.
Just part of her headdress, I guess.
I don't think they got to say Sonic in France, so was the average French child have
surely
any way
they've
of
got
knowing?
like it's in the Bible material, right? Like I'm sure they had something they were given. Just maybe it was translated poorly. I don't know.
But yeah, no, Illusion leads them away, and again, this is why I think they did not realize they were echidnas, because she hops.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
I think they might have thought these were like kangaroos or something.
But none of the others do. The others all just walk.
It's just what she does.
Maybe she's just getting silly with it.
Yeah,
What were you about to say, Jake?
the exact same thing.
She's hopping away.
Yeah, like just the action lines suggest like, oh yeah, she's just bouncing.
Yeah, she just keeps doing it. That's weird.
She's getting her calisthenics in today.
I do love how expressive she is, though. She's stretching out all her limbs, her neck. Oh, goodness.
She had a curly tail. It'd be like a marsupilami thing. That's another.
Yeah.
Or like a, fang.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Jerboa.
Half Jerboa, half wolf. We're not doing that.
Lucian leads them away to just an enormous slide that's going to send them right into a big old lava pit for, sacrificing, because that's just what you do when you're a tribal society in an old comic.
I mean, they were clearly like pulling from Hydra City here, right? Like that's what they were going for.
That's what those slides look like. Yeah.
What if slides, but lava?
And I would say lava reef, but like you said, we did not have Sonic and Knuckles yet.
Well, I guess it's less of a sacrifice and more just execute the prisoners.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Get these losers out of our house.
Yeah.
Well, if you're gonna execute someone, then make it fun.
Yeah.
The princess is like bragging about her lovely city and the temperature of her lakes in the translated version, lava infusion. Lava infusion means molten lava.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
I almost thought she was trying to say like the water in their lakes was kept like a pleasant temperature by the nearby lava.
It's one of those things where it doesn't make sense in English, but they kept it in there because it's got the cool bespoke text in the original.
Sonic responds by saying, "Great, so how do we buy postcards?"
I think that's a great line.
Yeah.
and Tails responds with, "Sonic, don't annoy the miss, please." And from the dialogue alone, I'd think he was panicking and oh, don't provoke her. But from the art, it just looks like he's going, "Sonic, don't annoy the miss, please."
Yeah.
Don't be so rude.
Actually, Sonic.
Sonic, stop beating my child in the head with a lead pipe.
I feel like another good update to that postcard would be is there a gift shop on the way too? Or...
Yeah. I like Lucian's next lines of, "I like your courage, stranger, as well as your nice blue color. I'm sure you will make a nice spark when you get there. Push the prisoners."
Push the prisoners.
Oh, here's Robotnik to the rescue. Wait.
Kind of. There they are. No pity.
Once again.
Oh, Sonic, Robotnik, you're interrupting and getting killed. You could just wait 5 minutes. The problem would have resolved itself for you.
No, I want to do it.
No, that's fair. That actually is in character for Robotnik.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I like this. Tails running from Robotnik, but with some extra punctuation and umlauts and whatnot over it.
Sonic pulls Lucian down into the tube slide with him as they are riding away from Robotnik, who assumes they're gone, but maybe not so much. And of course, Lucian's like, "You fool, he'll kill us both." "I don't care, I'm having fun."
Yeah. I love Sonic's expression on the slide. It's just pure joy.
When it goes fast, I have fun. Most Sonic fans trying to play the game. But when not fast, me no have fun, me have bad time, bad game design. Always fast, always good.
Sonic forces me.
Why is the slide not only going to the right?
I love Robotnik's pose in the start of the next page.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Really
his itty bitty legs.
He's just "Big Dick is back in town, Hedgehog."
And his little elf boots, too. Oh, there's that Penguinator again.
Yep.
Penguinator is more, just his expressions. It's less like, Army General and more like Smithers, yep, you're right, sir.
So the Penguinator says, "Master," looks at the signal. It looks like. He goes, "Hey," and then Robotnik makes a...
And he flicks his nose with his thumb.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's it.
Yeah, Robotnik makes an effort to run to the edge of the cliff and yell, "Damnation!"
That's more or less a translation of what he says in French, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He flies after everyone going down the slides, and Lucian goes, "What did you do for him to be so mad at you?" And Sonic goes, clean my face on his moustache once or twice.
Yeah, that's great.
No deal whipping a cream.
I was tactful.
Listen, they are trying to translate this, and they're being very direct and literal.
Again, pretty accurate translation. I don't know what that's meant to mean.
Because the first part makes perfect sense. You know, he'd say, he used his face as a doormat once or twice.
Yeah.
But then he just says words.
Why did Sonic say no deal whipping a cream? Is he stupid?
Oh, I kind of wish we had someone like who understands French to also be confused with the rest of us on what Sonic's trying to say.
Hey, like we said, the translations notes in the back kind of agree with us.
Yeah.
Now, hey, Robotnik has a pretty good line here. I will exterminate you, Sonic, cut you into tiny cubic pieces, and throw them to the piranhas. That works. That passes.
Yeah.
That goes pretty hard.
Yeah.
Tiny cubic pieces.
And then he sees the princess and just immediately gets distracted.
Yeah, I think the whole reason he was chasing was because the signal was showing the gray emerald.
That's what I assumed, too.
Oh, I thought it was because earlier on he picks up the signal of the target, which I have to assume is Sonic because he flies in and just blows him up.
Yeah.
So I think maybe he can just track Sonic with his...
Maybe.
His organic sonic energy signals.
Here's the thing. Under normal circumstances, I would be like criticizing the storytelling here because it's just a bunch of things that happen. But also, it's just a bunch of things that happen.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
And it looks great.
Yeah, exactly. I just noticed, now I don't know, going back, Sonic has no back spines or tail going down this slide.
Yeah.
Thank goodness, that would hurt.
Tails rescues him again right before he burns his butt cheeks on that lava lake.
Quite literally. He's like 2 inches above it.
But with Robotnik getting away, they also find that Amy is dangling from, what's the shark badnik from Hydro City?
Jaws, right, with a Z.
Yeah, I believe that's right.
And Sonic jumps in to help her and just ends up dangling off her leg. Nice going, mate.
I know. She even calls him out there. It's like, well, I hope you have a plan on how to rescue us both now.
I'm here. I see that you're here. What I wonder is what you plan to do now.
Name of a caper.
Yep, this is one that the back matter asserts is a French saying. I looked it up. 0 results on Google for in quotes. What did they mean by this?
He's having this has been a bit of a caper, I guess, and
is it caper like an adventure, or is it caper like the tiny little thing you put on?
Caper like the thing that goes on pizza.
Oh, okay. See that's what I was asking.
French listeners, please, if you know anything, fill us in. We are completely oblivious to this series of words.
Yeah.
Being in a bit of a pickle be maybe an equivalent? I'm just grasping at French straws here now.
Yeah. Just says, beans.
That's probably how I would translate it.
Yeah.
In the spirit of Griffin McElroy.
And Robotnik essentially goes, ha ha ha, holy f***ing hedgehog, I can't believe you fell for that.
You stupid spiked creature.
I love that the way he, drops them is he just rides up to the rope and cuts them with tiny safety scissors.
Kindergarten scissors. Drops them right into the volcano.
And then takes a photo of them.
Yeah, he has got a little photo camera.
Posterity.
Mm-hmm.
Nice little holiday snapshot.
What a nice picture to hang over the chimney.
Place it on my mantle.
Yeah, this is where she's, Lucian is resting boobily over his hands.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
As Robotnik also engages in some microaggressions against her. And she bites him.
Hell yeah.
I'd bite him too. What else are you going to do?
I don't know. I mean, if it's like the Bible, Robotnik, he's probably got like old egg sort of like soaked into those gloves.
Oh, God.
Eating the raw eggs right from the shell.
Yeah, she's going to die of salmonella in like a week.
I was going to say, at least it's not like the Golden Books where it's actually metal under that glove.
Oh yeah. She'd need to go get a tetanus shot.
Or at the very least, some dental reconstruction surgery.
Some Listerine, she'll be fine.
Oh, poor.
Tails
Poor
in
Tails.
grief and anger. Oh, what a sinister ending. My best friend's gone forever. You won't get away with this, Robotnik. My revenge will be terrible. And that is a straight translation.
I feel like
great.
that works because like he's a little kid, and I feel like that's like something he would hear somebody say and be like, "I'm going to say that because I'm mad."
Yes. Uh-huh.
Then Tails goes back and becomes a cyborg ninja, starts learning how to.
I do like the nice touch. He says he's specifically going back to Green Hill to tell the story of how the heroes met their courageous end.
Green Hill was Sonic's home in lots of the things that we've been like going back to in the 90s now. Pretty sure it was like that in Robotnik's laboratory as well.
Yeah. Poor Tails, with a heart full of despair, he leaves the ancient city of the volcano, convinced his best friends have just met an atrocious end. And yet...
If we bring back the hands of time just a few minutes...
We see that as they were diving into the volcano, there's a golden ring that they go through that brings them to blue balls. Well, red balls in this
After
case.
Sonic yells out, Giga gigloo.
Yeah.
That's just nonsense. That's right there. Like, that is just taken straight from the original scan.
I was going to say, as somebody who has never read a lot of Franco-Belgian comics, that is the most Franco-Belgian comic phrase I've ever heard in my life.
And yeah, then Sonic gets blue balls.
Yeah. There's even the counter up in the corner.
Oh, yeah. Of
Of course, he aces it, just like we all did, right, folks?
It's because you were controlling it, Jeremy.
Yeah.
You are the resident.
As we know.
As you say, you are the resident blue balls. Hold on. Blue spheres.
Blue balls pervert is something else altogether.
How dare you?
My bad.
I would never.
Let me redact that and say blue spheres, pervert.
That's a respectable title.
Yes.
So yeah, Sonic clears the special stage, and Lucian is like, "You've triumphed over our ancient challenge. Only our greatest warriors could have achieved such a high score." And
Still no mention of the word echidna.
Yeah.
Just of our civilization.
and so she hands over the 7 magical emeralds, not including the gray one apparently, and the golden armor and the power to be transported wherever you want.
Oh, she's given him the level select.
You got to put in the birthday of that guy who's in prison.
Not technically.
Not technically.
I know.
I love that big 7 though.
Yeah.
The big crossed 7.
Sorry, you said that she gives him the emeralds except the grey one, but they're all grey. Well, at least silvery, I think.
They're greenish.
Yeah, they're green.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're kind of
you know what? There's a
like
bit
a
of green.
a faded jade.
Yeah.
They're the jaded emeralds.
Hey, it's Porker and Johnny.
And Donald Duck.
No, wait. Remember there was that one draft of the Bible that said it was Flicky the Duck?
Oh, you're right. Maybe that's what's going on here.
He is Donald Duck in it.
Yeah.
He ain't got no pants.
He's got the hat.
It is quite funny that, like, it is the rabbit and the pig in the foreground, though. Like, did they know?
This is
At this point,
this is
they've got
what
to
I'm
have known
saying.
something.
I feel like there has been too much overlap with STC that it wasn't like maybe, if not widespread, at least there was awareness of it.
Yeah.
But in the parlance of STCTP, this is before they knew shame. They are completely naked.
This would have still been in the first year of the comic, like probably before the big time skip.
God, really?
Oh.
Yeah, so this book was October 1994, but it's possible it may have started...
September 1993 was when Origin of Sonic happened. Not soon thereafter, Johnny Lightfoot and Porker Lewis were introduced to the concept of clothing.
So maybe. It's hard to say.
Maybe they just had the first couple issues of STC.
Yeah, that's possible. It could have been delayed. There could have been a little bit of a publishing delay between the original UK release and then distribution elsewhere.
Yeah.
Or maybe they just really thought, oh man, the rabbit and the pig, hell yeah. And let's put a duck in there too.
Yeah.
Origins of Dr. Quack.
I mean, under that light, under the light of the campfire, where they're sitting around as Tails discusses the demise of their heroes, he does look a bit yellow.
Sonic and Amy warp back to the Green Hill Zone as everybody is eulogizing them, and surprise, they're okay, and Sonic has the golden armor. You won the challenge of the 7 emeralds.
Hold on, he's not the Knight of the Wind yet.
Yeah, he's super.
I do really like the verbiage of golden armor in this case. Like, of course, supersonic as a term is just better in my opinion, but there's just something about golden armor that just sounds super cool for Sonic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, this was definitely back, like, of course people were aware of it, but like the Sonic Western canon wasn't clued in just yet that, oh no, Supersonic is supposed to be Goku. Like, there was some like mystical, like, oh, this transformation, what does that mean?
Well, this is where it's definitely not inspired by STC, because he's cool and he's in control and he's not trying to murder his friends here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I think that this, reinforces my belief of they had the Bible and Sonic 3, where it's like, you get, now Sonic can transform into Supersonic. I don't think they got that far. I think that they, saw the opening cutscene where Sonic is gold and then loses loses it when he loses the emeralds.
By the way, listening audience, if you've come this far and don't recognize that when we say in the Bible, we're referring to the original Sonic Bibles that we talked about in a previous episode, in which it describes the original Western idea for Sonic's canon. You're probably going to be quite confused when we talk about how this is inspired by the Bible and how Sonic came back from the dead with new powers.
Yeah,
I know. Right before that, talking about how, Johnny and Porker ate of the fruit of knowledge of good and evil and had to cover their shame.
In this modern culture of like false prophets and like cherry picking what you want, I just appreciate when things are biblically accurate.
We're also trying to gas up this last page because, well, this is the last page of the comic.
That's right. Yeah. And what's for sure is Robotnik's problems are barely beginning. Reader, they weren't.
End question mark?
Yeah.
End question mark?
End question mark?
Yes.
Yes.
No. End. Yes.
Get rid of that squiggle. Just leave the period.
I mean, technically this book did have a follow-up, sort of.
Sorta, kinda. Like a few months later, because then they got to Sonic and Knuckles. In fact, that's when they got to Knuckles, because Knuckles is in this, by the way.
Yeah.
Just lots of Knuckles is. If you take a look at... Now, there aren't any actual proper scans of Sonic and Knuckles Guide Ultime. I'm not sure how you say that in French, but the ultimate guide to Sonic and Knuckles, basically, is a follow-up to this, kind of. It has a few comic pages in it. It is in the same visual style, like the art inside of it, but it is mostly just an actual guide to playing Sonic and Knuckles. And you know what? Taking a look at this video where someone's just, like, basically paging through it, would have liked this as a kid. It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
It's got charm to it.
I like that the section that I just got to in the video for the Badniks just says Les Badniks.
Yep, they sure are.
Checks out.
Interesting that they included a picture of Amy in the game where she does not appear.
I mean, same. Oh, actually, Tails does appear, technically speaking, I suppose, for 5 seconds. But yeah, because Amy's cool.
And Knuckles is pink in this.
Yes, he is. Which is funny because this is Sonic and Knuckles where they immediately decided, no, we're not doing that anymore. The fools. Probably didn't do well enough for them to make any more, sadly, but...
I know, unfortunately.
Just a glimpse of what could have been, They carried on and maybe had a series of their own, but no, sadly not.
I'd like to see someone do, an updated translation, but I do really... With the lines that don't make sense even in French... Do you just translate them literally, or do you try to make a joke that actually means something?
I mean, if it was me, I think that's where you would have to strap on your localizer hat and say, okay, even the original doesn't really make sense. Maybe it's some type of humor that just is impossible to convey in plain English, and you just plop in another joke in there somewhere.
I'm sure, though, If you did, you'd be one of those woke localizers putting in your personal politics.
Excuse me, they're called vocalizers. Thank you very much.
Literally an example of, hey, you want a literal translation? Here you go.
No offense to the scanlators, they did the best what they could for free. But this is what happens when stuff is a direct translation and the original dialogue is incomprehensible.
You couldn't make Sonic Adventures in the Claws of Robotnik these days because of Lewokism.
Yes, of course. You're actually right. You couldn't, because if you look at those savage echidnas.
So yeah, that was, at the end of it all, that was, in fact, Sonic Adventures in the Claws of Robotnik. And I will say that I very much enjoyed it. Of course, my favorite part is the action throughout all of it. The art style is just like really fun to look at, in my opinion. And like even the story throughout, it's pretty paper thin, but it's still a fun narrative to travel along with.
It's better than at least half of STC.
I mean, especially later on, but also, now I think about it.
The story is perfectly cromulent for this medium.
60 pages? It's like basically 60 pages, and that's a lot of Sonic, actually.
Giga gigloo indeed.
You get your...
This is definitely one of those, comics where it's like, even if I didn't have the translated version, it'd be one of those things where it's like, oh, the art sticks out so much, just has such energy to it, just so much charm that it's like, even if you weren't able to read it, it'd be like, oh, this is just neat. Yeah. Like, obviously there's some stuff that, doesn't make sense and maybe does not hold up especially well, but I think there's something to this.
Yeah.
It really is it's the same with going and looking back on even poor quality scans of like STCs. You can see like the brush strokes and like the markers used to color this in. And I'm just waxing nostalgic where there's just something about that looks really good to me in old comics like this.
Yeah.
It's just a shame it's called Sonic Adventures and they only had one.
Yeah.
They only needed one adventure.
1.5.
I just really like it. And, it's just like weird seeing this sort of like cross section of like, oh, there's the Sonic that I knew when I was younger, kind of. And also the Asterix I knew when I was younger. So it's like a little like double dose of nostalgia for something I never had when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Oh, it's pretty cool.
I can't wait until Ian discovers Princess Lucian and finds a way to reboot her for IDW.
Oh, he probably knows.
He's probably tried.
Yeah, no, it's likely.
Yeah, I think the Sega has like a sniper trained on his position to stop him from putting her in.
No more orange echidnas. We have one, and all the others are off limits.
We have to call it home.
We also have one big booby lady. We don't need another.
You only get one, and sometimes we're going to change her design so you can't see her boobies, and people get really upset about that.
Unless Adam Bryce Thomas is drawing that issue, God bless him. Hey folks, GameBuddy here to let you know that after we recorded this episode, Jolene decided to take it upon herself to do an update to the English translation we have for this book, using it, the original French, and their own knowledge as a base. Basically to make it more readable to the average person and fit the tone and humor of Sonic that existed around the time this came out. In the future, we plan to not only record some clips like we have with other comics we've covered, but we will be creating our own public release of the comic with this new translation with full credits to the original fan release, and of course to Jolene too. Jolene is doing this completely for free in their spare time, so please support their other projects and show her some love on social media.
So that wraps it up for our episode today. I think we all very much enjoyed reading this, and you are able to read it as well through the link in our description wherever you listen or watch this podcast. Thank you for sticking around today. You can find us all on the different socials. You can, of course, find Sonic F on Twitter, yes, Twitter, and Blue Sky. And you can find me on the socials as RockTheJake and on Twitch as Mr. RockTheJake.
You can find me on the various socials at CyberLink420.
You can find me around the internet as GameBuddy, sometimes with a 123 at the end.
You can find me all across the internet, most likely at Faulerro. That's Faulerro.
Love that jingle.
Should actually make it musical one of these days so it can be a real jingle.
And Jolene, where can we find you on the internet?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at SJ_broadside. I've got a link to my Redbubble account in my pinned tweets if you want to see some of my art and design work and stuff. And you can also find me on my podcast, Our Worlds Are in Danger, which by the time you hear this, we will have wrapped up our first season, which is like where we go through all of the mid-2000s Transformers show, Transformers Armada, and its Japanese counterpart, Micron Legends, to compare the two versions of it and whether there's anything good to say about it, because it's not exactly highly regarded.
I mean, I would say most of the episodes are worth listening to, except there's one like right in the middle there. You had some guy on that was just really just unpleasant. I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, his name's Jack. So you can find that by going to ourworldpod.podbean.com. You can follow us on Twitter at ourworldpod, and Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and on Spotify. If you listen to it, please let me know, because I crave validation.
Don't we all?
As we all do.
Exactly.
Special thanks, as always, to Amy Waters for the use of our theme song from the album Gotta Go Slow. You can check out more of her work on YouTube and Bandcamp, and you can also find her on the socials as @AmyWaters. And we ask you to please remember to subscribe, review, and share, and rate, and comment, and all that good stuff for the show, because, hey, it sincerely very much helps us out, and we also just enjoy seeing what people think about the show. It's like, whenever we release an episode, that's one of the things I do first while I'm letting the audio play. I'm just like, okay, what are people saying?
But as for our next episode, it's a timely one, because right on the heels of that new Knuckles show, we're going to be looking back at the 2020 live action movie, the first Sonic live action film.
Oh, man.
Woohoo! What about the fan film with
Doesn't
Jaleel?
count.
No!
What about the OVA? That was Sonic.
We did that already.
Oh, that's true. Oh, man. Hopping
do it
right
again.
back to the very beginning of the pandemic. Yes, you can blame this film for everything that happened.
I still love that meme that goes around of the edited Last of Us screenshot with the poster for Sonic 1. I remember seeing this right before the outbreak.
Oh, God. Or Dr. Manhattan, it's 2020. There's a pandemic raging. I'm watching the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. It's 2022. It's 2024. Oh, God.
It never ends.
Yeah, just also an episode where we talked about the Smurfs. Let's talk about the Smurfs movie, but Sonic. Luke made that joke before we got started, but I'm stealing it wholesale.
It's all yours.
Again, thank you everybody so much for listening, and we hope that you have a wonderful day. I have been RockTheJake.
I'm CyberLink.
I'm GameBuddy.
I'm Faulerro.
I'm Jolene, and has anyone ever told you that you have a very strange sense of humour?
More often than you'd think, less often than you'd hope.
Once or twice. This has been The Hill is Always Greener, and we'll see you on the other side.